I have to tell you, yesterday I cried like as ugly of a cry as you possibly can do. And Sean just sat there like, what the heck's going on here? And what it was that, the kids have all been pulled from school, like in March or whatever. And Lennox is in TK, which means she's in the thing before kindergarten that fall babies can do. And her teacher, Miss Pasternak, sang a song to all of them that apparently she did every day, and it's about saying goodbye. And then she's the ABCs, and she's lettering, she's signing, and she's singing. And I just lost it. I just lost it. Isn't that crazy how you never know what the thing is that's going to be to set you off? And apparently Lennox lost it too. And so Miss Pasternak has said that she will FaceTime Lennox and talk to her. So one of the things they're talking about here, and I don't want to go on too long because we've got a lot to do, is that whoever you had now in school will be your teacher this next year, so that the people, you've got this trust and understanding with this teacher, and then the kids aren't walking in with this person with a mask on that they don't know, they don't trust, they don't understand. The problem comes in, what do you do if you're in sixth grade? A sixth grade teacher, then you'd have to shift back and do kindergarten. And I don't think that's going to work, which is too bad because I think it's a glorious, glorious plan. The other thing I want to bring up is that I'm kind of a Facebook idiot, meaning that you're sending me a lot of pictures and then I can't find it, and then I find it, and it's driving me crazy. If you for sure need to get hold of me, and I hate to do this to Brandy, but I would suggest you go through customer service at thequiltshow.com. Customer service at thequiltshow.com, and there's a contact us that's on the Quilt Show's page. So I just want to put that out there. Like, I saw Elizabeth Fender, I saw you sent me something, I couldn't find it. Okay, and with that, I want to show you some of the show and tell that we have gotten, which I'm very excited about with the Sequoia sampler. Popping. Thanks, John. Too many things to remember. There we go. This is by Joan. And the thing that's really kind of starting to strike me are what you guys are all doing in the center, and then also in the spaces where other applique could be. So this is an ode to Lizzie Albright, the book that Ricky's working on, and with the flying geese and all of that. And I think the rabbit is just a kick in the pants. So again, if I'm not showing your stuff, it's just I've lost it. I've lost it. I've lost it. All right. This is Susie's, and again, let's look at what she did with the area with the vase and stuff. I mean, you guys are just knocking it out of the ballpark. Let's see. Then we go to Susie to Susan's. And I love that it says stay home and the middle love spoken here. And I'm wondering if she embroidered that. I can't quite tell. Maybe it's a panel that she just happened to have, but that is just completely lovely. And then this is Mary's. Look at just how simple those circles are. How simple. And then the hearts. You guys, man, I'm digging on you, okay? And then this is Denise's. She said that she's going to hand quilt hers. And what you need to know about that is that at thequiltshow.com, there are classrooms. And in the classroom, I have done a whole series on hand quilting, because somebody else said, can you do one of these things on hand quilting? I mean, I can, but if you want it now, it is at thequiltshow.com in the classrooms. And remember, it's only $19.95 for 6 months while we're still in our quarantine lockdown. And then I thought, wait, did I just show you this one? Yeah, I did. Okay, and then Jill from the UK sent me, or I saw this picture, and this is what John thought I should do with mine, is put the words down below, but I also love how neighbor is spelt. Love, 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 creative license. Yay! So the other thing I want to share with you before we get going is, I'm taking Joanne Sharp's watercolor class, and I have most of her books. I want to show you the card I made for my son-in-law, Jerry's birthday. And if anybody's watching this that knows Jerry, just keep your mouth quiet, okay? So whoops, what just fell down. So here it is. This is done with watercolor, all right? Now you have to know that in Jerry's life, all he wants is a black cat. That's all he wants. So it's become a family joke. Isn't that a gas? Whoops, there. He's gonna be 39. And then what I did is on the back side, I taped on this little pocket, and then in there is a check. I've made a couple of these. This is the best one so far. So Joanne, thank you so much for everything you're teaching me and for writing such spectacular books that I can glean from. It's just, I just love it. Again, so what we did on, what's today? Today's Wednesday, okay, June 10th. What we did on Monday is we started into the adventures of Beautifully Quilted. Okay, I got to do that. And these are the bones and basics for quilting design, whether you're doing long arm, whether you're doing domestic, whether you're doing a hand quilting, whatever. These are the bones that Lucy Hilty taught me. And so, you got a question, honey?
Oh, no, not so much a question.
Uh-oh, when he comes in with a little Post-it note, I know I'm in trouble.
Just, no, just...
Oh, we have someone from Spain, Vietnam, Mexico. Oh, Carolyn. Carolyn Huey, I see you. We got to catch up, man. You need to come to Livermore so we can go out to lunch. Okay, so you somebody else got their new rotary cutter from Tool School. I just cracked mine open yesterday. The big one, where is it? I'm actually cutting fabric here. And the 60 millimeter rotary cutter, I love it. I didn't get, all I had was a prototype. Here it is. And then I got this one. John said I look like a Coach purse today. This is actually hand-me-downs. I'll take hand-me-down clothes, all right? Thank you, Christy from Paducah, Kentucky. Okay, let's get going here. We've got a lot to cover. So if you're just starting in today, go ahead and watch this, but I would go back and watch Mondays. And you can do that by just going to the front page at thequiltshow.com, scroll down, and you can see Monday's date, and then just go watch that, because this is all building on each other. So I got to go to the screen share, and then I got to go to my PowerPoint. Why is that so small? John, you may need to come in here. My PowerPoint. In fact, John, I do need you to come in here. I don't know what's going on. Let me go down here. Okay. All right, here we go. This is where we left off, right? Does it look right?
Can you just pull it?
I did. I just pulled it to the left. Okay, we're good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a quilt called Mud. And it was a styled shot for the magazine. And the reason it's called Mud is because it's a quilt that was inspired by a poet, Polly Chase Boyden, and the upshot of it, the poem is, "No one but the yellow rose bush knows how good mud feels between the toes." And so I thought a Rose of Sharon would be fabulous. This is when I was still doing hand applique, notice in the past. And I used a lot of hand dyes. The yellows are all hand dyes. And as I was quilting it, I would use the blue pen, and I didn't want to leave it on. I would then take a paintbrush of water, and the yellow started running. I mean, I was almost having a heart attack over this. Okay, so I went to wait a minute, where are we? Oh shoot! Oh shoot! Close your eyes, everybody. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Let me go back down here. So I called up Paula Reed, who, does a lot of quilting for people, or did. I don't know if she still does. And what happened was I drew on the feathers that you're seeing on the vine there, and then I would take a paintbrush with water and get it off, and then the yellow started running. So she said, this is what you do. She said, you get yourself Synthropol. Synthropol. You put this in your washing machine and hot water, and you put the Synthropol in, and then you have the washing machine do its thing with agitation. So I don't know. And she said, if you're not agitated enough, okay? And doggone, it pulled out the extra yellow. It was one of those things where I just had to keep quilting and have faith and faith that it was going to come out, and it did. This was hand appliqued, machine pieced, hand quilted. And what I wanted to point out here is that the spine on the border, I use the spine, the vine or whatever, I use that to be the spine of the quilting design. Because remember how I said on Monday that Lucy taught us that you want a spine. So that's how I go about it. That pattern is in the book, Beautifully Quilted. So this is a quilt that has a story. This goes way back. And John came in and he goes, I want you to do a quilt that gets their attention. I don't care if they like it or don't like it. Just get their attention. And then scary words came out of his mouth. He said, and I know exactly what it needs to be. So he graphically drew this out for me, and I instantly knew what the quilting was going to be. So let's see if we can go forward here. Nope, there. I hope you can see this, everybody. I want to note that the quilting is layered. You can see there's a crosshatch grid in the background of the black, and I do believe you can see it. And then there's meandering feathers going every which way. And then there is the star on top. So let's think about it. You've got crosshatch grid, you have geometric lines, you have the feather, soft curvy lines, and then you have the star on top, harsh geometric lines. So that goes back to what I was talking about on Monday. Now this is a really great quilt because it was hanging at a show. I think it was the Marin Quilt Show. And if you look at this, you guys, this is about 35 years old. And these two guys were standing in front of it, and they were all like, oh, look at that. It's Controller's Dream. Now, John is a CPA. And I just thought of that because he thought he was a controller of a chain of food stores, Fry's food stores. And I didn't realize that when you're an accountant, you want to be in the black, but the red always gets in. Ugly red, you don't want. The other thing was about that time, a Quilter's Newsletter, I'm pretty sure it was that magazine again, and there was a whole article about great male quilters out there, how we need to cut male quilters some slack. And it went on and on about these great male quilters. And then remember Rosanna Dana? You're all going, yes. At the very end of the article, and mind you, it was right after this quilt was debuted, they said, we needed, okay, women out there, we need to include men into the quilting realm. You know, I mean, there was Michael James, John Flynn, Ricky Timms wasn't even born in the quilting world yet. And then to wrap the whole thing together, at the end it says, take, for example, the work of Alex Anderson. Yeah. No, I'm a girl. Always have been, always will be. So this Controller's Dream. So here we go back up here. Love this quilt. All right. So we looked at the quilting. Now let's go to the next thing. So this is how I did it, okay? I have a big roll of vellum. Vellum is expensive. I buy the biggest roll I can afford at an art supply store. And what I'll do is I will cut the shape of the vellum to the shape that I want the quilting on. And we were just looking at what we were just looking at is here. And you'll note that the center of it is missing, and that's because I did the star on another piece of vellum and then laid it on top of the feathers. And that way, if I screwed up the star, I wasn't screwing up this whole thing. And so what you'll do is this is what I did. This is what I did, not what I do now. This is what I did. I would then draw it. Then on the vellum, I would use a Sharpie to get it dark. And then what I would do is pin it to the underneath side of the top before it's basted. All right, this was hand quilted. And then I take it to my super expensive light table, which happens to be a 1/4 inch thick plexiglass up by 2 chairs, of which I'm sitting in one right now, with a little lamp under it. And believe it or not, you can see through it. It works. And I'll tell you what I mark with. I'm hoping that's the next image. Yes, it is. So let's talk about marking tools. My favorite, okay, let me say this. I mark it and then I baste it, okay? Let's be real clear. I mark it, and my favorite marking tool is the upper left hand tool there. It is a silver pencil, and there are many, many different brands on the market. I think Roxanne has one, but you can even go to an art supply store and just get a silver pencil. Actually, I get a box of them. And if you have the choice, you're going to want to get a silver Verithin pencil. Verithin just means the lead is very thin, okay? And this seems to come out the best of everything. Now let's go to the colored pencils. If you're using a fabric marker pencil that is colored, always, always, always test and make sure it will come out. Yes, I've heard of disasters, but also on the right, we've got that blue pen. And what I would use now, if I were marking as I were going, I would go with my purple one, because it just magically will go away. And the blue one comes with horror stories, like if you have an iron on it, which wouldn't happen when you're quilting, or it sits in the sun, or it's on too long, it can leave like little brown dots and not make you a happy camper. So now I would use my new tool. So there. But the one thing that you're never, ever, 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 ever going to use is a school bus yellow pencil. And ask me how I know. So the problem is with the school bus yellow pencil is that it's a very, very soft lead, and it will not come out, okay? Now there are lead pencils that are quite lovely that are made for quilting, and I think they're like a much harder lead. But like the school bus pencils, no way, baby, no way. So let's take a look at this quilt. This was a raffle quilt for the Manteca Guild, and Chris Spray did the applique, did the quilting, did the piecing. Chris's work is just beyond the pale. I mean, her work is just spectacular, magnificent. I just can't say enough about her and her work. So she agreed to do this, and it was based on an antique quilt that I found, and I put the Irish chain in the center as a fabulous playground for quilting. Now remember, on Monday I said you don't have to work in a confined space, right? And so a quilter might look at this and say, well, heck, I'm just going to do a fancy little quilting design in each of those squares on point that are defined by the Irish chain. But no, I didn't want that. I want to do something what I think is better. So what I did was I took a large piece of paper, it would be your vellum, and I cut the area that I wanted the drawing to be on so that I could play with it. Let me scoop this down a little bit. So I'm ignoring the piecing. Where are we? Are we there? Yeah, let's go here. So what I did was I drew this particular motif, and it was actually inspired off of I'm doing a brain fart. In the Catholic Church, the cardinal, the librarian cardinal, I'm sure it's in Rome is a much bigger name than that. There was a book about all things Catholic in Rome, and of course it was, everything there that you go and see at the Mothership Church. And there was this picture of the guy's garment, from his elbow to his hand, and it was a few layers of lace, and the lace, of course, was hand done, and it had like these motifs on it. And so I thought, whew, that is so beautiful. But then I also wanted to pick up the circles that were in the applique of the outside border. So, I made this. I'm ignoring all the piece things. But then I get to the center. And I thought, well, I am just going to pull out this quilting design, which was the quilting design I did on the mud quilt, and flop it in the center. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work on 10,000 levels, okay? Mainly there's just too much negative space that's not being quilted. I suppose I could drop in a hot crosshatch grid, but it wasn't right. It didn't feel good. And so one of my favorite things to go to always is a feathered wreath. So I drew a feathered wreath, and the outside one, it looked wimpy, so I did an interior one. And that filled the space. And again, I'm pretty sure there was a crosshatch grid. I repeated the circles again in this very center that was part of the applique. And so this actually, John wouldn't let me buy tickets for it because he thought it would be really weird if I won. But I wanted this quilt so badly. And I mean, Chris spilled blood on this, not for real, but I mean, her guts were poured into this particular quilt. It was even hand quilted by Chris, though now she is a spectacular long arm quilter. And I just put a note in, and I said, if you won this and you don't want it, give me a call. I will make you a serious offer. I never got the call. So talking about the Cardinals frock, really, truly, inspiration is everywhere. You just need to look. This is a stained glass window that hangs in our master bath, and I'm waiting for the day it breaks because it's all buckled and weird, and I mean, it's how it hasn't broke at this point is beyond me. And so let's take a look at that tulip, all right? So on the left-hand side, you can see that I only had to draw half of it. There's a little fold in that paper that's going from top to bottom, kind of like when you do a heart, you only do one side of it, then you fold the paper, and then you mirror it through. So you could see here that I did that shape at, I'm going to say 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. And so there was a big hole at 12, 3, 6, and 9. So I just repeated the tulip shape. Fill the space. So what about other inspirations around you? I mean, I get a ton of Christmas cards. So here's holly. Okay, I don't know how to draw holly, let's just say. I can go to my copy machine that I commissioned you to get your hands on Monday. I can blow it up to the size I want, simply trace it off the card with that vellum paper. And then you could do a border just by arranging it, or you could do a wreath just by arranging it. You want to start looking at inspiration in different places just to get your own jam going on, all right? So let's take a look at this, and I wish it didn't all come up at once, but it did. Let's start with the upper left-hand corner, all right? I just took a space and I divided it up high into 8 shots. Then I just drew circles, and then I started filling in. Just look at each little area. Cindy Needham works this way too, if you've been enjoying her classes. And then if you look at the top there, it looked too weak. So I doubled it, just like I did with that feathered wreath. But it's not filled up yet, right? It's still not big enough. So on the bottom left, I drew another circle. And then I put in those little 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9, and realized in the center bottom I needed to double it. And then for the corners, I just put in feathers. Now, if I told you to just go and do that whole thing on the bottom right-hand side, you'd go, I don't know how to do that. And honestly, people, when I was doing it, I didn't know what I was doing either, but it's the whole elephant thing. You just take one bite at a time. And here is the quilt that this is a variation of what I just showed you, and this is a quilt of mine that actually the pattern is in the book Beautifully Quilted. So with that, let me see. Okay, no, I'm going to do a couple more. So also look to other quilts, old quilts, for inspiration. This is an Amish bar quilt that I made, and I think Amish bar is kind of an oxymoron, but I love, 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 love those grapes, okay? So this is the center of the quilt, and you can see there's a grape wreath in there that I've done. And the thing that's so, you'll never see this thing. It was this quilt in person. It was a triptychs, and it didn't all end up the same size. So here's the drawing for that one, all right? And how did I get those leaves? Okay, I just went out because we're in grape country. I picked up a couple grape leaves. I put them under the vellum. I traced it, took it to my copy machine, and then made it the size I wanted. And then I just picked up a quarter and made all those grapes. It's really quite easy. So the thing you need to know is when Ricky and I had the magazine, he told me to go buy a camera and start snapping pictures. Well, it was starting when Livermore Harvest is its best. We have 50 wineries here, you guys. And so I took a bunch of pictures with my Nikon 90, and then to make it kind of quilterly, I did this red work. And I thought, okay, that's a good little pattern that I could put in that goes with my article about looking and seeing things in your environment and where you live. And Jan McGee, who was our editor, said, no, that's not good enough. Not good enough. And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, you need a quilt. And so I said, well, how long do I have? And she said, you have 1 month to make this quilt. Nothing like a deadline to get you motivated. So there's the quilt. And you need to know that there is a pattern for this available at alexandersonquilts.com, along with some cutout circles that are fusible. And I would not be being honest if I didn't tell you that Pam Vieira McGinnis did 2 of the circles. I did 2 of the circles, and then I said, can you help me with the outside? And she's like, no, I've done my bit. And so I did the border, and then Paula Reed quilted the magic. 1 month, you guys, 1 month. So what I want you to remember is that good design is good design, and it's absolutely everywhere. Let me get back to my camera. That's a good breaking point right there. So what I want to tell you is that I think, yeah, mud is in the pattern for mud is in here, as well as this one. I will tell you, I did the little pinwheels out of batiks and I hand quilted it. Whew, that was a mistake. I don't want to do that. Okay, people are saying, you know what, Sunflower Baby, I could not have made that in a month by myself either. I've got a good posse. And it was raillage applique. I'd be lying if you thought it was turned. Jan McGee, though, the editor, said, I'm going to do it sometime turned applique. And I thought, be my guest. So, okay, K Facet, I have to laugh. This next set of quilts, this next set that we're going to do together, hold on, let me grab where are they? And John's bringing in questions, so that's great. All right, so the next project we're going to do, John says you might as well call it a mystery quilt because you don't know what you're doing. You're right. So we're going to be working with Kafe's fabrics. The kit is also going to have solid fabrics in it, which we're all cutting like mad. I've brought some home and I'm cutting, and we've got people there at work cutting. And it's truly a mystery quilt because we're going to work with the little block tool block, and you're going to get this if you want, or in your own stash, doesn't matter, and the solids. And then we're going to have an optional, we're going to throw in, if you want, I'm not going to say you have to get this. The kit's the kit. The solids are with the caves. But then we got some white fabric. And if you want to order up, you could say, I want a yard of white fabric. Now, we were really vacillating, white a yard or a yard and a half. We don't know what, so I'm just going with the yard. And if you run out, get hold of us. But with what I think I'm going to be doing, I think a yard will be just fine. And these kits, you're asking, drum roll, will be available Monday. We are cutting like mad so that Suzanne and the shipping department can start shipping. So don't delay if you want it. We're getting a bunch, but if you want it, make sure you order it. And then if you don't have the quick and easy block tool, get that too. That's going to be paramount to the whole thing. Now, I have been saying something wrong. My pants are on fire. In the United States of America, if you spend, the Continental, if you spend over $100, we can do free shipping. I'm not sure about Alaska and Hawaii, what our deal is with them, because I'm not in shipping. But overseas, sadly, we're going to have to charge you what it is. But we're not bumping up the cost. We're not doing anything, but just the postmaster, our little postal thing will bring up the amount. But if you live in another country, you understand how that is all, how there's a problem. So let's see. So Monday, you guys, Kuwait, Turkey, a Mennonite hand quilter, Ruby, South Africa, Brazil. I might get into an ugly cry right now. Okay, how does the design go from vellum to the fabric? That's where the light table comes in. You pin it to the underneath side of your quilt top, put it on your light table, and then draw it. Okay, that's how that works. What if I use a school pencil to trace the love thy help? I think you're going to be okay, because in a perfect world, your stitching is going to go on top of that pencil, right? I mean, I've known people to use a Sharpie felt tip pen for their red work, which a red one, and that makes me crazy, but I guess they're a better aim than me. All right. Does the 80 weight come in spools or just bobbins? Yes and yes. Okay, you can get the 80 weight, which I adore, in drop-in bobbins. We have one pack that is like some neutrals if you have a machine that takes in a different class bobbin, or we have it on spools. So just go to thequiltshow.com and go into the store, and then you can see what you want. Did I wash the whole quilt in Synthropol? Yes, and the mud quilt. I had to, because I had to put it in my washing machine and have an agitator. Now here's something, okay, I'm going to take another 3 minutes, because when we were in Africa, my washing machine broke. And I told my mom and dad, just go get a new washing machine and a new dryer and help get it installed, because I cannot imagine coming home from Africa and not having a washing machine, okay? So my dad went, researched it and this and that, and he got me the newest fabulous water energy saving, machine. Well, I hated that machine. I hated everything about it, starting with lid lock, okay? I mean, you take your laundry from your bedroom to your washing machine and you drop a sock on the floor, and then the lid is locked, and then it's just too much for me. Okay, so when it broke, the guy came out to fix it, my fancy machine, and I said, I'm going to tell you what. I said, if I go and buy a new machine, will they put this visit towards it? And they said, yeah. So I went down to the local Adam Appliance, which sadly is closed, and I said, I want a machine that has an agitator, because of exactly situations like this. And he said, okay, so we're going back to dinosaurs, okay? And then he said, anything else? And I said, yes, I don't want lid lock. That drives me crazy. And if you have it, you know what I'm talking about. So he actually had some machines in stock that had an agitator and didn't have lid lock. And it was like the crazy old lady machine, the ones that can't figure out everything. So my friend Debbie Stevens had a red and white quilt that ran like you can't believe it. And I said, let me take it home. And I fixed her quilt with Synthropol and color catchers. So the newest is not always the greatest. You have more questions?
Funny question.
Here's a funny question. Oh, where do we look on the site for the Cave Mystery Quilt? I love that. What do you think? Crystal will probably have it on the front page, right? On Monday?
On Monday.
Yeah, on Monday, if you just go to thequiltshow.com and click the logo, it will take you to the front page and it will be there. If you get on it on Monday, you're going to be just fine. If you wait for 2 weeks, I cannot promise you anything, all right? So I love it. The Cave Mystery Quilt. No, I'm going to rename it. The Cave Mystery Sampler Quilt. It's exactly what he wouldn't do. God. So, okay. 1995, 6 months at the Quilt Show. I do have these books if you're interested. I don't have a ton of them. I got a bunch out, two, my big sale, 2 yesterday. And I have a couple more orders today. So I'll sign these and get these out to you. And again, just do that, okay? I can't stand it. So, whatever. You guys, have a great day. Have a great day. And if you need an ugly cry, just do it and own it. And I'll tell you what, it felt like the pressure lid came off. It felt so good. Oh, here's somebody else. I went back to an agitator on her machine too. And okay, stop. Enough of that. All right. Have a good day, you guys. Thank you so much. See you Friday.